in the last year, in 2025, there were 7,000 books that were either challenged or completely removed from our bookstores, from libraries, from school, all across the United States. This actually was the highest number in over 2 decades. There were also, in fact, 4,000 book titles that were targeted based solely on the book title to be banned. All of this, according to the American Library Association. Now, those numbers, those statistics surprised me, but not really because of the numbers, because it revealed something deeper, not about books, about who decides. So let me ask you a question, please. Please raise your hands if you didn't realize those books you're reading right now were chosen by someone else. Raise your hands if you didn't realize that. Most of us didn't, thank you. In fact, many of us had never really even thought about it. Bias, it's not malicious, it's subtle. And in publishing, subtle bias doesn't announce itself. It comes in as taste, it can come in as preference. Subtle bias can come in as what's good for society. So for the past 9 years, I've really had both the privilege and the pleasure of working in this wonderful industry called publishing. I've been able to help clients achieve their dreams of becoming published authors. I've worked with highly skilled editorial teams, and personally, I'm proud to say that I helped launch over 80 books. And from that experience, I've learned that publishing doesn't just reflect culture, it shapes it. And when a select group of people can decide which stories are worthy to be published, it's society that inherits their blind spots. Moreover, when a homogeneous group decides which stories matter, perspective narrows. So there was a moment early in my career in publishing that really helped shape my views. We were working to publish a manuscript, get it ready for publication. It was a powerful story. It was a memoir. I remember it was very well written, and it was a deeply personal account. And when the time came in our process for me to proof the manuscript, I stopped at one word. It was the F word. Without hesitation, I contacted the client. I told the author that we would not be spelling out that word fully. Seemed like a reasonable decision at the time, responsible even. I was the acting editor-in-chief. It was my manuscript team I was managing, and these were my views. I don't remember hesitating about that choice at all at the time, but later I did, because it felt uncomfortable. I realized that author wasn't asking for me to agree with their word choices. They were trusting our team to tell their truth. And at that point, I wasn't editing for clarity or syntax. I wasn't even editing for quality. I was editing for comfort, my own comfort. And now my values had become the filter through which others' stories passed. And that's when it hit me. If I had the power to decide which words were acceptable, which truths were too harsh, or which perspectives needed softening, what made me any different than any other gatekeeper? And those decisions that we would make weekly, they weren't made with ill intent. They weren't made in bad faith. They weren't even loud. They were subtle. And multiply that by the thousands of book publishers and editorial teams and boards of directors and institutions, and you understand that subtle bias becomes culture. And that's how I know today that bias doesn't just live in publishing, it lives in perception. So when people look at me, they might see a Latina woman who likely speaks Spanish, a first or second generation immigrant. And when people find out that I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, They might believe I'm a member of a predominantly large religious organization. And as I began my talk today, there might be people that have made assumptions about me based on my heritage. But what people likely don't see is that I'm a former IBM engineer. I'm a third and fourth generation Mexican American that doesn't speak Spanish. My parents don't even speak Spanish, much to our regret. And as a classically trained violinist, I both attended and graduated from the one and only Catholic high school in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I guess it could be said, though, that I am a second generation person type because I'm the second generation college graduate in my immediate family. So all of that is what we commonly know as societal biases, right? Very prevalent. And many of us are aware that they exist. But what we likely don't talk enough about is that bias doesn't always mean discrimination. Sometimes it means protection, protecting all of our comfort zones. And when we protect the familiar, we unintentionally silence the unfamiliar in publishing. For instance, we may silence the author that writes about a neighborhood we've never been to. We may silence an immigrant that speaks with a voice that weighs heavy in a culture that we cannot understand. And we may also silence a person of faith because they don't sound anything like the mainstream church that we attend. And we are not silencing them because their stories lack value. We are silencing them because they challenge ours. So this is the good news. The good news is bias is learned so it can be unlearned. And books can be bridges to help that, but only if we let them be built. And why this is important is because the future of publishing is not just about books. It's about who can be seen. And more importantly, it's about who can be heard. And if that is true, if that we could be wrong about people that we meet in the first 1 second, then we can know that there's always a different way to look at someone else. So as I continue my work in the publishing profession, I want to ask you this. Let that next person that you meet astound you. Let that next story that you read not just inspire you, but challenge you. And may that next first impression be only that, a beginning and not a conclusion. Because the world doesn't change when you publish a book. It changes when you stop judging the cover. Don't judge the cover. Read the full story. Thank you.